So guys, can't make this stuff up. The bike has 9 miles. So guys, the bike has 236 miles on it. We received this bike with 3 miles. So we put on 233 miles. Well, I put on 233 miles over a span of 3 days, including today. And let's not spill the beans early. I don't want you to think this is going to be a BMW bashing video. I'm going to start off with the positives. And I think the first things first, what BMW does the best is the quick shifter. The quick shifter on this bike, by far compared to anything else that's out there, works the best, feels the best out of the factory. And when you change it to the Alpha Racing quick shifter on these things, it's like the icing on the cake. It's amazing. And it already is really good. And let me put out a disclaimer out there, guys. What I'm saying today is based on my experience from owning pretty much all the modern superbikes that are out there. Anything that I think is even relevant and worth buying. So I have the pleasure and the privilege to be able to ride these bikes and enjoy these bikes. Yes, we don't put out track content, but I'm not here to drag knees on the street, guys. I'll keep that to the track, and you could make all the comments you want about chicken strips, but I have nothing to prove to you guys. I already know what I'm capable of in a controlled environment on a racetrack. And the content we put out, if you've been around this channel, you know it's a lot of real talk. It's a lot of real information, and by no means I have no incentives by any manufacturer of these motorcycles or the parts we sell to tell you guys one thing or the other. It's based on my own experience, and it's my own thoughts about it, guys. I don't expect everyone to agree with it. And if you had a world where everybody agreed with each other, we would have been in a much better world than now. But that's the disclaimer. Let's get back to the goods of this bike. I already talked about the quick shifter. The other good thing is this M1000RR looks very special, and quote unquote looks, because we'll get to the other part. But compared to the older M1000RR, this bike really looks special, especially when you're riding it too. Look at this cockpit, full of carbon fiber. It has that all familiar BMW dash that, you know, you can't fault it. You know, it does what it's supposed to do really well. You can't confuse this for anything else that's out there. You know you're on a 2023 M1000RR. And I think that's what the old M1000RR kind of skipped on, is that making you feel a little special when you get on it and you look around, because it just looked like an S1000 with different bodywork and winglets. And to be honest, you guys say these winglets are massive. I can't even see them when I ride. It makes me feel like we've spent our money on something that's out of the ordinary. And I said quote unquote looks. Let's get to some of the drawbacks of these guys, of this bike. To me, I think is looks is one thing, but feel is another thing. I talked about that quick shifter being amazing, and also these Gillies tooling rear sets. They're different from the previous model year. These rear sets really feel good. The old ones felt good, but these ones, I really think that BMW changed them not so they could sell you another set of rear sets if you own an S1000RR, but maybe they had feedback from someone saying it could be better, and these rear sets are definitely better than the previous generation's M1000RR. Let's get to the thing that I'm sitting on, the seat. It is rock solid, and it's not particularly comfortable, but again, you're on a super bike. If you're looking for comfort on a super bike, you're kind of buying the wrong product. You kind of want the excitement and the theater that comes with owning something like this and riding around on the streets, because that's what 90% of us do. But the other thing with the seat is that the seat is really high. It's pretty thick, and I'm 5'11 and a half, and for you guys who work in meters and centimeters, that's 180 centimeters. I am tippy-toeing on this bike, and I think this is a direction where a lot of these new superbikes are going that they're a lot higher, or the seating position is a higher than what you expect, and I think that has all to do with the aero. And as you know, this bike has the looks because of all the aerodynamic upgrades that they've done to them, and that seat is high like that because of that. Because when you get in a full tech position on the track, if you on an old S1000RR or M1000RR, if you raise your butt off the seat just a little bit, it actually improves the aerodynamics of the bike. And I think that's what they wanted to achieve by putting that taller seat on this bike, because the subframe is exactly the same and the mounting points on the frame are the same, so they couldn't angle the subframe differently, so they've done it with the seat. It kind of looks a little wonky if you take a look at it. If you see one of these things or own one of these things, take a look at it and you'll see that it kind of looks a little out of place and like an afterthought of a design, but I guess function wise it is there for that aerodynamics. And talking about the aerodynamics, these fairings are a lot wider than the regular S1000RR fairings and the older M1000RR fairings. I guess it gives the aerodynamic advantage to the bike of what the BMW's press launch says. I don't pay attention to those figures, but what else it does is that it's pushing a lot of heat from this engine through the fairings into my right leg, and the right side is particularly warmer than the left side. Again, it's not a symmetrical design from the right and left side, but I guess that's where most of the heat of this bike is exiting from, and I feel it. People think that you got to buy these things and go crazy to enjoy them, but I actually really enjoy just riding them around the street like this, because again, these are very special machines. But the heat is there. But in comparison, just a couple days ago I was riding with my good buddy Michael Knight, and he has a pre-decked out K67 2020 S1000RR. He's got the Samco hoses and the line cooler on it. His bike was consistently running 25 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than this bike, and I don't remember the S1000RRs being hot like this, even on a day like this, which is, it's a warm day, but by no means it's a hot Miami day. My leg is roasting. I guess that's a small price to pay, and to the people who really complain, they say I can't ride that, my response to them usually is, grow a pair. And if you don't grow a pair, just don't ride one of these things on the street. I told you guys, this is going to be real talk. This bike had 3 miles when I received it, and unfortunately at 6 miles it already broke down. So guys, can't make this stuff up. The bike has 9 miles, and I was supposed to be doing a first ride to get acquainted with the BMW, and as you see, I pulled over somewhere safe right now. But look at this, serious fault in engine control, onward journey possible, half check by a Ford shop. This is what you get when you buy these bikes nowadays. And I don't know, I'm speechless. If you could tell, I'm kind of annoyed. We'll see. Let's see what this is. 9 miles. 9 miles, guys. And the message on the dash that I got was very concerning. Even if you buy something for 5 grand, let's forget about the 40 grand that we paid for this bike. Something that you paid any kind of money to get a message like that and get a problem like that, I don't know about that, guys. And it's not just the thing with BMWs, but it's our Ducati SP2 has under 300 miles and is leaking oil already. Not from what we've done to it, it's just the oil pan is not sealed right from the factory. And this bike had a check engine light at 6 miles saying something around, what was it saying? I forgot the wording because it's very, very jargony, but it was concerning enough. It was saying something like major engine fault core present, engine damage possible. I don't know. You buy a bike for 40 grand, it already has 3 miles on it. Can you do something so there's no air in the system? So a regular consumer buys this thing for 40 grand, receives it, is excited about it, goes for their first ride and gets stranded on the side of the road. It just drives away from the experience. And I'm telling you, the bike, I guess because it went in limp mode or whatever, it sounded like crap. It did not sound healthy. But once it was cleared, hey, it's got 239 miles. Am I concerned? I'm still concerned that this thing's going to break down on us again. And one other thing that I think that I should touch on is, compared to all the other bikes, and compared to even an S1000RR, this bike feels really buzzy, guys. And what I mean by buzzy is that there is a high pitch vibration present on the bike. It's not the suspension or anything like that being stiff, because we could just soften up the suspension, and this is mechanical. Unlike the S1000RRs, you got to get your wrench and tools to soften them up. In this case, you're probably going to get a screwdriver. But there's a high pitch vibration on the bike that you feel in your handlebars, and it's not what you guys feel on your S1000RR that I've heard a lot, because those get solved with some bar end weights, and this bike still has the bar end weights. But it is so bad to the point that these mirrors work fantastically in terms of the view that you get out of them. Out of any super bike that's out there, it's the only one that, for someone my shape and size, I don't just end up seeing my shoulders, that I actually can see what I want to see from mirrors is the traffic behind me and my blind spot. But when you start going 40-50 miles an hour, and especially on the highway, and look now, I don't know if you see it on the camera, we're going 39 miles an hour. I can't see anything out of this mirror because it's vibrating so much, and trust me, they are tight. It's not like they're loose there. These beautiful mirrors that kind of work don't work, and luckily we could solve that. Unfortunately, in its braking period, it's not really an exciting bike to ride. It is still cool because it's new, it's an M1000RR. It looks amazing from this view on, but it's quiet. It particularly doesn't make any pleasing noises, and if you can hear the engine, it sounds really metallic. To me at least, it's not particularly pleasing to hear. And yeah, it doesn't have that sharpness, not the sharpness when you ride it, guys, don't get me wrong. In terms of excitement, this bike is missing that excitement again. There's a lot of nannies and everything going on, and especially this throttle here, guys. I don't know if it's emissions or whatever it is, but first and second gear without the flash on this bike, it's a lot more restricted than I remember the older bikes being. First gear or second gear, let's try it. I'm going full throttle. You're not getting full throttle there, guys. That wasn't full throttle on a 200 horsepower super bike. It's not giving you that full throttle. Again, yes, you don't expect to go crazy on this road over here, but imagine you buy this bike, you want to track it. You get on it on second gear on a slower corner, that you're on a lower RPM for whatever reason, you're not getting that one-to-one throttle. And BMW, I don't think they'll sell you an ECU flash from factory that gets rid of that, so you need that brand tuning. But I'm confident that once we do the braking miles on it, and that this bike doesn't give us any more trouble, because I thought about it, guys, when we had that issue with the 3 miles and the way that it was sounding. We're about to receive an M1000RR back because I do not want this thing. But now that I think it's fixed, we'll try to put our braking miles on it so that we could try to spice this bike up a little. And I have high hopes, guys, because don't forget, Jerry Campisi was in town, and his M1000RR was quite fun to ride on the street, I'll tell you that. But again, that bike had a lot of mods. Stock for stock, I think all the other bikes that we have are a lot more exciting than this BMW. On that bombshell, and in this beautiful Miami traffic, I'll leave it at that, guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I try to read all of them. And again, I don't expect everyone to agree with me. Hey, look at that pig. That person's got a pig. But I don't agree with I don't expect you guys to agree with my opinions, but they're my opinions. And like I said, the opinions are not based on any kind of influence from anybody or anything else. It's just my experience with owning these bikes, and I try to give you guys my honest impression and opinions about everything we do. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Until next time, guys, have a good one.